Okay, everybody, welcome to our live session here. We have Milt with us today, and Milt's going to kind of do a little once-over with the JumpRope 2.0. So this is kind of exciting. I've seen a little bit of the preview when we did like the little preview last in this spring now. Oh my God, that was like a long time ago. And it's exciting to see it kind of in action now. I hope it works better, and I hope people like it. So I'm gonna hand the reins over to you, Milt. Go for it.
Excellent. Well, hi everybody. So yeah, I'm going to be going over JumpRope 2.0 today from the teacher side, not what the administration or back office people see, but I have just some sample classes which really don't have any live data, and obviously you folks are going to have your full classes, so things are going to look a little different. So at some point I might ask for a volunteer to jump into your account so that you can, so that everyone would be able to see a little more accurately what you'll be looking at. But what I'm going to do first actually is go over in JumpRope now. Because of the 2.0 update, they have released some new tutorials for everybody, and it should show up in everyone's account when you first go into the JumpRope 2.0 section. If you don't see it immediately, I can show you how to get back to it. But
hey,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm a new this year,
yes.
And I actually don't have my Infinite Campus set up yet. They haven't logged me into that, so I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I reset your account and sent that off, I think, to Pam.
Okay, I haven't got information on that yet.
Okay, yeah, you should be able to log right in to IC with your basically everything in the email except at grcsu.org. So just the first dot last really. And then our old default password with the capital Q, lowercase a, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exclamation point. But that shouldn't be relevant directly for today. You should still be able to get into JumpRope, which you log into with Google.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, so when you go to the JumpRope login page, which the link should be out there, but if anybody wants to get it, it's literally just the word JumpRope with a dot before the PE. So jumprope.pe instead of like .com or something like that.
Okay.
And then you just hit sign in with Google with your GRCSU account.
Okay, thanks.
So first off, that's the same for everyone. Everybody can still log in with Google. Same for students. If they want to get into their portal, they're logging in with Google. So that works just the same for everybody. So really, JumpRope 2.0, and I'm going to jump into it in a second here, but I'll just explain a little bit first. JumpRope 2.0 is really JumpRope's way of updating the user interface. Almost all of the features that we're used to are still there. They've just sort of changed names or locations. Things are just shifted around a bit. They've been working to update this for quite a while because their previous product was based on Adobe Flash, or just Flash Player at this point, which is going to be sort of cycling out of existence very shortly. December of this year, it's no longer going to be available pretty much anywhere on the web. So they really had to get this updated to a more modern web architecture so that we wouldn't lose access to JumpRope entirely. So that was the impetus behind the change. But they've also been using the change to make some updates and sort of modernize how things are done in there. So hopefully it's an improvement for everybody in features and function as well. So I'm going to jump in here and start presenting. Just a minute to get that started. All right, is everyone seeing this JumpRope up here? If anyone can just let me know that is the case.
Yes, we can see it.
Great. All right, so I'm going to just move. Okay. So when you first log into JumpRope, let me just go back. All right, I believe when you first log into JumpRope, if you have multiple classes, this is what it's going to look like. And again, I logged in just to show everybody. I'll jump back out so everyone can see. If you go to that jumpro.pe right here, that'll bring you to their main page. There's a login here. and then sign in with Google. And I'm just signed into my GRCSU account. So it's going to just grab that information there and sign me right in. Now, when I log in, of course, it's going to jump into the admin interface. So I'm just going to switch quickly to what you would see when you first logged in. And there it is. So again, if you have multiple classes, if you have multiple sections of a given course, because you're Spanish teacher or something, so you've got multiple Spanishes for different grade levels or just different sections of Spanish, or if you are a elementary teacher teaching a grade level, you're typically only going to see one here. I've just got a whole bunch of generic classes that I've got set up. And you'll notice none of them have any students. So it's going to look a little different. And that's why I'm going to ask one of you folks to borrow your account for a bit in a minute. But right now, I'm just going to jump in and show you what's new and how we can go through some of the tutorials. So when you actually select one of these courses, and I've just clicked on the name of the course, it's going to go in. It defaults to the grade tool down here at the bottom. So this is one of the first differences you'll note between the previous JumpRope and the current one. Rather than the tabs along the top that we used to have, now we've got these sort of tools or tabs at the bottom, just to shift to where those things are. And you'll see there are three: plan, grade, and mastery. So plan is really where we're all going to be starting this year to get going and to build out our assessments. JumpRope 2.0 doesn't really utilize the units feature the way it used to. As far as I can see from in here, when I've been in here looking at the tutorials and things, units is not really the tool they're using anymore to organize things. It's just about assessments, and you can group them and do different things in there. But Plan tab is where we do all of that work, and that is where we're going to add the indicators that we want and where we're going to add assessments. And as I mentioned, there are these tutorials right down here in the bottom right. If this is the first time you've been here, and as long as you haven't gone through these yet, these should still be showing up here. And if you click that, it's going to bring up a little list. And they have 4 by default. I had already clicked this one on my account, so that's why it's showing checked off, like I had already gone through this. But these are basically the same steps we would need to have taken in Legacy JumpRope to add the standards. And again, that's just JumpRope terminology for proficiencies and indicators in our case. But however, they're labeled, essentially adding all the different things we're going to be scoring children on. How to select assessments to add to my class. And this is a tutorial. This is one I know folks are going to be curious about. This is how we copy assessments from previous classes or between teachers. You can actually share them so that they're available to other folks if you think they'd be valuable, and teachers can copy those then into their own courses. But this is that copy tool. It was previously, cloning, I think, or copying they had listed it as in the old tool, but this walks us right through that. Creating brand new assessments, and then they do still have units. It's just not as prominent as it used to be. So let's go right down the list, and I'm going to sort of walk everybody through these just so you can see it together. And if anyone has questions, we can talk about those things as we go, because I think it'll be more valuable for you that way. So selecting standards to add to my class. So this is just a brief description of what this tutorial is about. Selecting performance indicators for your classes is an important first step in JumpRope. And depending on your settings, you're going to be looking at a curated list of performance indicators, and that's what we're dealing with here. Some JumpRope installations allow teachers to create custom indicators, and we're not doing that. We're just sticking with the list that we've got. So I'm going to jump into the tutorial. And so it's going to walk me through step by step here how to do this. So we need to create. And it's indicators. We're basically grabbing indicators from the standards bank. So it lets us search. This is where we can filter, but this is the thing. So standards bank is from the entire standards bank. Current classes is where you can essentially, if you have set up one class already, you can utilize the current classes to copy all of the standards you have assigned to one class into another. Or the same for archive classes. So again, this is where we can utilize sort of that copy feature to grab all of the indicators we had already assigned to a class we had last year. If it's going to be the same, you're going to have the same indicators this year. you can grab those. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change them after that. You can use this as a base, copy all of them over, and then remove ones that are no longer relevant, add new ones that are relevant, etc. But you also, again, have the option now to copy from other teachers' classes. So if one of your coworkers has already done the work of grabbing all of the indicators that you might need at a particular subject area or grade level, you can copy that work and speed things along for yourself. So we're not duplicating effort. There's really no point for us all to do the same work over and over again. So it's letting you know the different places you can get those. And of course, okay, so it's telling me, yeah, this is how when you're done, you hit select here. And it's just saying, I'm done at this point. Now, I don't have indicators in my old courses, which is why you're not seeing those when I click on any of these things. But this is where, you could scroll down through now I've gone and done it. This is where you can scroll down through a list of the indicators and standards. I think I clicked by content area. So, okay. So again, this is just a huge list. It's going to be the entire list of proficiencies and indicators we have in the entire system. In this, though, we have a lot of ways to filter this down. So if you're just looking for math, let's say, you can, in the content area, click the little lines here, and that's where we're basically getting to the menu. When we open that up, we can uncheck select all and just click the subject areas we're looking for. So let's say we did just want mathematics. You can see now that this is now filtered down to only the mathematics content area. If we also know that we're only looking for particular grade levels within our content area, we can filter that down and say, I just want 6th grade, or those that could apply to 6th grade. So middle school or high school. And of course, my display is getting a little funky here. Let's see if I can. Seems to be a sort issue. I'm sorry about that. And some of these things may still have bugs. If we do note any, absolutely let me know, and I will make sure that they make it to JumpRope so that they can correct these things. So that was just a little display bug where it was kind of overlapping some things. It just unchecked and rechecked what I wanted, and it seems to have cleared that up for now. So these are all of the mathematics proficiencies and indicators for grade level 6, or where grade level 6 is indicated as a possible for that indicator. And now I could look down through these things and select those that I wanted. We have some overlap here on, as you see, there's a few different things here that I'll just say, like modeling. So these are for the overarching proficiency, I should say. The performance indicators below, normally we have in this sort of format. But at the elementary level, we had been only requesting teachers score at the proficiency level. So that's what these were utilized for. And the bold, as you'll note, if you take a look through, these are categories usually. I'm a little confused why I'm getting duplicates here. So I may have to talk with JumpRope about cleaning up our standards bank so that we're not seeing some of the duplicates. It's possible these are just visual errors, but it also may be something to do with the way we have our standards bank set up. So I will look into that. But essentially, whatever ones you do want, we would just check these and we would hit select, and those become the proficiencies and indicators that we have then available to us within this course. It is per course, so we're only setting up right now this grade 4, fictional grade 4 course that I have at the moment. So it's not going to add these indicators to my grade 5 course or anything else that I have selected if you are teaching multiple sections or courses. And I should say sections, it is per section, I guess. So if you do have 2 Spanish 8th grade sections, you teach both, you will have to do this twice. But again, because of the way the features give us the option to copy, when we do this a second time, we would be able to use my current classes option rather than the full standards bank, and you would see a list of your courses. Let me see if I can demonstrate that right now by just switching courses here. So I'm just switching to my 3rd grade. I go to current courses, and here we see I have indicators already selected for my 4th grade course. And if I want them all, I can check that box, and it just will automatically grab everything below. And then I can hit select, and now I've added those to my 2nd course. So I don't have to duplicate that effort again. We're just, doing each thing we need to do only as little as possible, so that we're not totally duplicating the time that it takes to do that. So that was indicators, and that was our first tutorial. The second one is about copying assessments. So this is to get assessments that already exist in one format or another. Now, again, this can be from your existing courses in previous years. This can be from your current courses if you've already set up some new assessments and units that you had in a current course and you want to copy them over to another section, or it can be from another teacher. Very similarly, when I run through this and it's saying, just to note, this is going to replace the feature of copying a unit from year to year. This allows us a little more reuse, again, from other courses, other teachers' courses, or courses from previous years. So I'm going to start that tutorial. And what have I done? All right, it's having a bit of a hiccup. Might be because I had already run this one. There we go. Okay. So again, it's just going to walk us right through it. Now, the thing to note is this is actually occurring all within your actual class. This isn't like a demonstration. So it's actually having you click these things really within your courses. So I'm going to click create, and it's going to tell me now it wants an assessment from bank. So this is really the thing you're looking for now instead of copy. It's that you want an assessment that already exists somewhere, either from a bank that we have or from an existing classes, past classes, other teachers' classes, etc. So when we click this, the thing that is new really about this, and of course I have no classes that have assessments, I think. Okay, so I've got a very old one here. I don't have any current classes that had assessments created yet in this year, but I do have an old archived course with a bunch of demo assessments that we had made while working here, and you see it was a whole list of us who were on that test course. So the one thing that is new about this feature is that now we have the option not just to copy everything, but to really pick and choose what we want from those old courses. We don't have to grab it in entire. We can say, if we do want most of it, I can check this top box, which will check everything underneath, but then I can say, well, I don't really need any of these, and so I can uncheck those that I don't want, and when I hit select, it's going to grab those. And another new feature is when it grabs those assessments, because those assessments already had aligned standards, it is going to grab those standards for me and add them to my course, those indicators and proficiencies. So that can actually speed this up on a whole nother level. We don't even have to grab all of the standards, proficiencies and indicators that we need for our course if we know that our old course had those already existing. So when I've added those assessments from my old course, it has grabbed every proficiency and indicator that I already had set up and connected to those assessments, kept them aligned, and we're ready to go. If you want to make edits, we can still edit any individual assessment. So again, these are in units, the organizations. They don't really show units the same way. We're not managing them in the same way that we used to separately from assessments. It's all sort of right here within assessments now. So I have this math assessment, and it's under my fractal geometry unit, and I can still edit. I can change the unit that it is under, the type of assessment, whether it is a formative or a summative assessment. Now I can select due dates because it is copying this from an archived assessment. It doesn't have the due dates because those things would be from last year or from several years ago, depending. So you will have to set new due dates for those assessments that you've copied forward. But we also have the options, to change more individual things here, to add attachments, a lengthier description, and we can also change whether this is published or not. So this is whether it is visible to students or parents looking in at the portal. So if you're not ready to have this stuff be available, we can unpublish, and then they're just for you. Essentially, unpublished assessments are for your site only. Published assessments are then available for everyone to view. So I'm just going to save that. Okay. So that is the basics of getting old assessments in our system. When you click on an assessment also, the indicators beside it will show you which are aligned at the moment to that assessment. But I'm going to go through that more as I go through the next tutorial, which is creating brand new assessments. So this is going to go into more detail about the actual assessment creation process in the new JumpRope 2.0. So let's jump into that. And again, this is going to show how to create assessments in your classes, align it to performance indicators, and then learn about copying and reusing them, which we've talked about some already, but let's do that. So again, it's just going to walk us right through this again in our actual courses. So we're going to create a new assessment this time. And now it's going to explain, that you got to fill this all out, basically. So we're going to give it a title. Whether we want it to be in a unit, if we already have one, or we have the option to create a new unit here. And when you go to create a unit, you're just typing in a new name. So again, they're not really managing units separately like they used to, where you have to have all those units sort of pre-planned. You have the option to create units sort of as you're going along, and they're just sort of grouping methods within the system now. So I'm just going to make a new one called test unit. And here is where we choose whether it is and this is new. I haven't seen this, I'm sorry. Normally we just choose formative or summative here. I'm not sure what this project is, and that's something that we may have to avoid for right now until we find out more detail about that. Typically the only assessment types we had in our system were summative and formative. And again, to refresh everyone's memory on the difference between those, or to inform you for the first time if you did not know. Formative assessments really were designed for us to be able to take a bunch of assessments and put them all within the system, but have those not really count for our student past the point where we've given them a summative assessment within that particular indicator. And the reason that is, the formatives were sort of, as we're building, and we don't want those to negatively impact the student as they're learning. And the summatives are when we started really gaining, real knowledge and a good assessment of that skill from our students. And so the way they do that, really, the formative assessments, if we're using those exclusively at the beginning, they have a very low weight. But because they're the only things we're using, they're still the whole. No matter how low they're each weighted against each other, they're equal. Once we throw a summative in, it is worth 100 times what any formative was worth. And so really just factors those almost out of existence. And so that's the difference between those. We use formatives just to capture day-to-day things or informal assessments, and then we use the summatives when we have given a more more accurate assessment to our students, or something that we feel has given us a more accurate assessment of our students' knowledge within a particular area. So I'm going to say formative. The weights, they're locked. We can't change them. Again, that's just built into the system because of the way we would like that to calculate. We choose due dates, and we show as upcoming. So we can choose, basically these are some different ways. So the due date is the date it's actually supposed to be due, but we can also show that this is an assignment that is coming. So it's basically a way to give students a warning of an upcoming assignment or assessment that is happening. And it will show as an upcoming assignment for those students until this date. So if I want that to show as upcoming in the system until a particular date, I can set that, and the due date could maybe be a day later or a week later or whatever it is that we want. But this is just to show it'll show up in the students' upcoming assignments. And so I've chosen those things, but now on the left, I am given a list of all of the indicators within the system that we have assigned to this course. So these are all of the indicators I've either copied forward from old assessments or manually entered myself by selecting them from the standards bank. And now I'm essentially, for this assessment, choosing which of these standards, which of these proficiencies and indicators it will assess. So I'm going to say, it is working with a few of these transferable skills and this algebra. And I'm going to hit save. And so now that assessment is in here, and it's under my test unit that I've made, and it's a test assessment, and there it is. And you can see the same 3 indicators that I had just checked now showing up here on the left. Again, if I go to edit, it's going to reopen that indicator selection window. So now we have the option to change that. Oops, I forgot to add that it was also going to include this modeling indicator. So I can check that box now and save, and now it's got all 4 of those that I had selected. So that is creating a new assessment. And essentially that assessment then is done. We don't need to do anything else with it. It's available for the students starting on the dates we've given and with the due dates we've shown. The published, again, is, I believe by default, it's automatically published. If I, in here and edit. Published is automatically selected when you create a new assessment. If you want to create assessments, but do not yet want to show those to students, or you're still in the process of creating or designing an assessment or deciding exact dates and things like that, you will have to open advanced options and uncheck published. And again, that just means that it won't be visible to others within the system yet. It's just yourself. So it stays here, looks the same for you, but it's unpublished. When I go back and recheck that, then it would show up for students. So we're going to run through the last one. And it does talk about creating new units. Again, we have learned that we can now do that right within creating an assessment. But if you still want to operate the way that you have in the past, and again, it's talking about some of the differences here, that JumpRope Legacy, notice that units are no longer a required element of plan, nor are they required for any reuse of content from year to year, etc. They've really de-emphasized units. They're more just sort of groupings at this point. But they're going to just explain how to use them now. But it's not nearly as difficult as it was because of that. So we're going to jump into the tutorial though. So create, and you'll note they just still do have to pre-create a new unit here. If you do still want to pre-create your units, just those groupings, so that you don't have to do that as you're going along with assessments, I can hit create a new unit. It's very simple. It's just a title, and we can use whatever we'd like. We can give it a more detailed description. But there we go. Now I've got a new unit, Math Unit 1, right there. No assessments currently selected within it, but it's available for our use. So when I create a new assessment, and of course it's not showing up here. Well, I'm going to have to talk to them about that. This may just be for my account because I am dealing with again, test data. Hopefully I can jump into one of your accounts and we can show this, but typically you would see your list of units here. The only one I'm seeing is that test unit that I've created now, and it could just be a display issue. I'm going to kind of jump out between courses for a second just to see if it's just a refresh issue, which again, I should still talk to them about because that should be happening quite quickly. Jumping back into plan, you'll note when I first go into a course again or a section, it starts on the grade, and I'm going to go to plan here. I just want to close you for now. Okay. So let's try that again just to see. There we go. It was just a display issue. So I'm going to talk to them about that just to speed that up for us, because that's not going to be helpful for anyone. As you're going along creating units, you don't see them in here until you have sort of left this page and gone back to it. But now all of my units are available. So I can choose that it works with Math Unit 1, and I still have the same options again as I'm creating an assessment as we just went through. But that allows you to sort of pre-create those units. It also is now showing, of course, all the units that it copied in for me from my old assessments. Again, that looks to be just a display issue, but I'm going to note that down to discuss with Infinite Campus. And this is still new. They are, I think they did work very hard to get this out in time so that no one was left without JumpRope 2.0 for the start of the school year. We had to switch sometime mid-year. So there may still be some bugs showing. And again, if anyone notes bugs, please just send them to me, and I will get them all forwarded up to Infinite, or excuse me, to JumpRope to make sure they get those things corrected. Okay, so I have run through the tutorials, and that is basically the end of the plan. So again, I am, when I go into a course, I am in the grade. When I go into plan, that's where I see all of that work. Mastery is where you're going to see, again, I have no students here, but again, it's where you're going to see for the list of students in this course and the assessments you have given them, how are they doing so far? What have I already scored? How are things looking? And it lets you look at it from a few different views. I'll show this a little more when I can, I'll maybe jump into an archive course from last year so that we can see, actually, let me do that quickly here. Of course, I don't have an old grading period in here. I may have to change my settings quickly so I can jump back into an archive course or something to show this, because of course we don't have any graded assessments from this year yet. But I can also show this, I think, in some of the help. But that's the grade book. So that was all under grade book here. We also have some other tools down on the left. Comments. JumpRope has an interesting take on the word comment. And so this is not what we might think it is, and what people, at least I have found, typically believe this is. This is not to add a comment to a student or an assessment for that student. It is that sort of comment where you're just having like a narrative description for the student or for the parent about their work is still done in gradebook. These comments are actually designed for inter-staff communication. So where we want to make some comment about a student or discuss a student educationally within the system, this allows us to create a comment and sort of assign it to a person and create a flow of communication all within JumpRope. So far, I have not seen this really utilized. So for the most part, I imagine this is just going to confuse people. But that's what this comments feature is. Students, again, not going to look great because I've only got one student that's ever been assigned to me. It's just a test student. They're just not in any of my courses. Normally, you would see a list of any of the students you have in any of your courses here. And this is where you could see, if we open them up, their mastery for all of your courses, or for, I believe, depending on the school setting, some of our schools do have this open where teachers can see mastery for other courses that those students might be in. But it's a way to get a view, from a student perspective, or from a student angle, I should say, on the data, rather than for your whole course, but just an individual student. You can see their mastery, their schedule, if we have that copied into the system fully. Any comments, again, and this is the same comments as we have visible here on the left. Any comments that people have made about these are, again, comments that are generally for discussing inter-staff. And that student's profile. Now, the profile is some basic demographic information that gets copied forward from Infinite Campus. So if you need to get, parents' email addresses or phone numbers or something, this will just have that same data from Infinite Campus copied over to here. So easier to access for you folks if you don't want to be jumping between Infinite Campus and JumpRope to just look at very basic contact information. Classes is just going to be a list of all of your courses, very similar to what we're seeing in the gradebook, but in a list format. It really allows us to access almost the same information, except that it shows a little differently down here. We're seeing the roster for those courses, mastery within that course, which is the same as we would have seen as if we were in the gradebook mastery. And again, comments for students in those courses. And you can see this is where they actually do explain that. I don't think, in this comments view, they don't really explain that. But if we look at this comments view down here, they do explain what they actually mean by comments. That these are, sort of anecdotal comments among staff. And reports. So right now, this is some basic reports within the system. It allows you to pull up a student birthday list. So if you want to get to all that quickly. Also missing work for students in your courses, and then missing work for what they call followed students. So this is another feature of JumpRope that we haven't used extensively right now, but it allows folks, when we do have permissions for teachers to view all of the students within a school, not necessarily just their own courses worth of students, but it could also be used within your courses. If you are trying to follow a particular group of students, either those students that might be struggling or need help in a particular area, you can follow those students. And it's a feature that they they have basically to like mark them that you would like to follow that student specifically within the system. This is a way to get a missing work list for that subgroup only. But typically you could run it just for your courses and it will show you all of the missing work for students in any of your classes. This also was where we used to have a progress report feature. And I think that's just off right now because we have not chosen yet a standardized or chosen a specific template for progress reports in this new JumpRope 2.0 interface. My understanding is when that is completed, that will show up here as well so that staff can generate progress reports for their students. But that is also something that can be run at the office level, so school level. They can run all of the progress reports at once for an entire grade level or the whole school. And so really depending on the school you're in and the process that location uses, you may or may not have to utilize that feature. So far I've run through everything that's in JumpRope 2.0 as far as on the menus, but we do also have the help down here. At the bottom, you're going to see a little icon for your profile. And if you click that, you have the option to go into your own personal account settings, change a few details there, sign out, but also access the Help Center. And this help is basically the same thing there. It's just going to jump up this Help Center. Now, Help Center, I think very nicely, is located right within JumpRope. It doesn't have to go to a separate screen or a separate page. It just kind of pops up the side and allows you to still be accessing whatever you want. I can still go to my gradebook. I can still look at my list of students, and yet the help stays right here. And one of the nice things is that the help is now context sensitive. So if I'm in my gradebook, the suggested articles it's going to show are for gradebook. And it's going to kind of try to walk you through some of the things that you might need. If you are in a particular area here under plan, you'll see that it's now showing you again how to create a new assessment, how to grade assessments, etc. You also do have the option to find any of the help that you might need under that. You don't have to stick to these suggested articles. Again, it's just trying to be helpful, but we still have the option to expand any of these areas. Let's look at gradebook, let's look at plan and see all of the possible help topics I might need. And so this is how you can re-access that same information that was on the tutorials that I just ran through if you need reference. So how do I, copy an assessment from right here, create a copy of a single assessment. And it will run right down through and explain, very similarly to it did in the tutorial. It's not actually redoing the tutorial here. It's just again, a written and picture description of that process. But that's how you can get to help for any part of the system. There is also, and I really encourage folks to use this, a couple of different things in here. Feature request. So if you folks are running through JumpRope and you're like, boy, it would be really helpful if this were available, you can absolutely request features. And these are just going to go as requests to the Infinite Campus support staff. They'll compile them, and if they get enough requests for particular features, hopefully we can see those added to the system. So I definitely encourage folks to utilize that feature to request new things that you want within JumpRope if you see things that might be helpful for you. The schedule a support call, I have not utilized this feature yet, so I'm not 100% certain what that is or how it works. I think it's a way to essentially contact support and have them actually kind of walk you through things. But I'm not sure how that feature works yet, so we'll have to experiment with that one and find out if we do think we need it. Contact Us is the more traditional support request within JumpRope, and you'll see that here. If you click that, it's going to give you a little window of just basically sending a support ticket in, and this is not to the GRCSU Tech Department. This is straight to JumpRope. You can absolutely feel free to use this. You don't have to contact me if you're having an issue in JumpRope, but I generally recommend you do because sometimes the issues have nothing to do with JumpRope itself and actually have to do with something on our end. We've got something messed up in Infinite Campus, so it's copying wrong to you folks. You're not seeing your roster or things like that. So usually I recommend people contact me. But if you know it's a system error with JumpRope, when I click this button, nothing happens, or there's a visual error, things like that, you can absolutely report those yourself. And JumpRope, interestingly, has rather than a priority, it's like, well, this is high priority. They have, what is your emotional state about this issue? So it's, you are confused, curious, worried, embarrassed, whatever it is. And they allow you to select that, and you say, I'm very frustrated, worried, whatever it is. You then type the subject of whatever it is you're trying to reference, and describe the issue. Now, if you are sending these straight to JumpRope, I do recommend that you put a very detailed description and give them as much information as possible. It's also, I think, when you hit the submit, I'm not going to do it now, so I'm not creating any actual tickets over at JumpRope, but when you hit submit, it's going to ask if it can send like a screenshot or a copy of what's on the screen right now. And if you have the issue up, that can really help them see what's happening. So feel free to use it. It'll be great. And as you know, I am going to get notified of this. So I will still get the information that there is some error out there. But again, I would only use this if you know the issue is something really to do with JumpRope itself and not something we might have screwed up on our end somehow. Again, things like I don't have my complete roster, or these performance indicators or proficiencies that I expect to be seeing are not there right now. That's probably something on our end. But if you have like the issues we were just seeing where the units, I know they're in there and they're not showing up, and I had to go refresh the page to get them to show up, we can absolutely report that straight to JumpRope, because that's an issue with their system. It's not displaying things properly. We can say, I'm a little worried about this. It's not showing new units until I leave the page and refresh. And then hopefully they can solve that for us so that we don't have to do that anymore. So that's all within the Help Center. And again, accessible always right at the bottom by this little question mark here, right near the bottom of the sort of menu side of the page. All right, so before I ask for a volunteer here, does anyone have any particular questions about anything I've gone through right now? Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself and shout them at me.
Or overall reaction, I'm curious.
Sure.
As well, to see if people have a reaction at all. Maybe nothing right now. maybe not yet, because they haven't been able to get fully in it yet.
Sure.
I haven't used JumpRope before, so this is like all new for me. I'm trying to just learn about it.
Yep.
Oh, good. Yep.
How's it looking for you so far? Have I gone over things well enough that you've got some understanding of this, or are you still feeling very confused?
I think I got it.
Okay, good.
It'll be a work in progress for me. I'm not very tech oriented, so
not a problem at all. And there's a lot of things along that lines. If you're having struggling with something within the system, definitely let us know. You can throw in a tech ticket and just even ask questions, and I can respond to those to let everybody know what's happening.
Hi guys, I have used JumpRope before, and Tia and I really appreciate where you pointed out where the help menus were. We did jump on last year and we were trying to find it. Maybe it was because we were spent, but we got frustrated and decided we'd tackle it now. So that's why we're here. So it's JumpRope's just one of those things you have to play with, and then you can kind of figure it out. But knowing where those help menu and they're kind of hidden, I was very excited. So thank you for sharing that.
Good. Well, I'm glad you have that available now. And really, Infinite Campus and JumpRope both have a very similar feature now. In Infinite Campus, it's in the, of course, exact opposite corner of the screen. It's in the upper right-hand corner. Again, just a little question mark, and it's not always something very obvious. So if you need help in either one of those programs, that question mark can be very, very helpful. And really, when you open that, you don't even have to know what you're looking for necessarily. You don't have to know, oh, that's within the plan tab, that's within the student tab, which you would need to if you wanted to expand these. But you can just search. If you type just a few keywords about something you're looking for and hit it, it's going to pull up a list of relevant articles and try to help you find what you need. And the same is true for the Infinite Campus help. If you are in there trying to utilize it, it again will give you some context-sensitive help articles, but allows you to search at the same time. All right. So do I have a volunteer to just jump into your JumpRope for a moment, and that way folks can just see what it looks like a little more filled out. Again, I know we're not going to have a bunch of assessments and scores in there yet, but at least we can see what a student list looks like and things like that.
I'm not sure if mine will have enough information, but You can use mine if you want to.
Let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to switch over. Now, this is not something you folks will have available. This is just me because I'm in admin here, but I'm going to do this, and I get this little ninja button. And this is going to jump me into your. All right, so here we go. We've got JumpRope, and we've got all the Spanish courses, I believe, at Rutland Town, right? So here we are. We've got several of each grade. Basically, I think these are all related to the sections of those different grade levels at Rutland Town. So there's 2 first grade sections. So there are 2 first grade Spanish sections, just to match that up. And again, if I go into that, so now when I click again, it defaults to grade tab. And because we still have no assessments, you're not seeing those. But typically, assessments would be, lined up here. Whereas our students are down on the left. But if I go to the plan tab, again, we don't have any assessments or indicators. If we want to copy those forward, we can create assessment from bank. And we're going to see that current classes, we have another Spanish that has 1 assessment that you might have popped in there. But archived classes, we should see those Spanish courses from last year. Now, we may have more or less available here, depending upon the teacher. So if the teacher changed between years, we may not see them in my classes because they may not have been your classes last year, but then we can use the other teachers' classes tool. But we do. So here's a Spanish first grade from last year with a few. Here's another Spanish first grade from last year. If we want all of those, we can check this box and copy them forward. And there we go. Now we've got those proficiencies and indicators copied forward from year to year. I'm not going to do that right now so I don't mess up your course, but essentially that's what will happen there. And it looked like, let me just jump for 1 minute. So you have in one of the second grades, 1 assessment, maybe it's the second one. That was interesting. Oh, first grade number 2. Of course, it was just the other first grade. Excuse me. There we go. All right. So I just wanted to pull that up so that I can show now on the grade tab what that's going to look like when you have some assessments in there. So now we see there's just a single assessment. It's going to be showing the this specific indicator here. And if you have multiple assessments all tagged to this indicator, you will see then all of those assessments under this indicator. But we also have the unit here at the top. It's a little hard to see because of the size of this. We just have a single assessment within that. But if we had multiple assessments within this unit, you'd see that's the greeting unit.
So Milt, if I wanted to add an indicator on there and say there was a written component to that same assignment, how would I go about that?
So if we go back, that's in our plan. So we have this greeting. And again, when I open this right now, it's showing this is the only indicator currently assigned. So the way JumpRope still handles the use of indicators and assessments. Let me go through this for everybody because that's definitely something I should have said earlier for those folks who have not used JumpRope before. JumpRope utilizes like sort of a 2-stage process for getting indicators into an assessment. The initial method is basically for the entire course, you will select which indicators you want available to you for any of your assessments. So that initial piece of just saying, for this course, this is the full list of indicators and proficiencies that I want in my course. And then for an individual assessment, you then choose from that list, that much more cut down list than the full standards bank, you choose which of those indicators and proficiencies you want to directly score for a given assessment. So in this case, right now, this course only has this single indicator, the speak clearly and effectively with correct pronunciation, Spanish, in this transferable skill, or this, this proficiency. I believe it is a transferable skill. So what we would need first to do is to just get a few more indicators into our course right off the bat. So again, we're going to use the create, and that's where they kind of walk you through it. Again, the units is at the bottom because it's less important to do that ahead of time now. but indicators is the first step in our course setup. So I'm going to click indicators from the bank. And again, this is going to give me that whole list of indicators SU-wide that we have available. So if you know you wanted to use a writing piece now, and I'm going to say, I'm going to pull up my ELA, just ELA, or I'm not 100% certain where the foreign language stuff is right now in here, but just use this for argument's sake at the moment. Oops, sorry, ELA. And I know also that it references, writing specifically. I can use the word writing up here, and it's going to cut this down to just those indicators that reference the word writing. I also know I think this is a first grade course, so let's just grab first grade. Now, one thing to note, you may have some difficulty finding them just for a particular grade level, and that's because a lot of the indicators got put in initially as like elementary or for a group of grade levels, all levels. And so you want to note that just checking a particular grade level may not give you the things you need. You also might need to check those all levels and elementary levels. So I'm glad I circled back to that too. But here we are. These are all of the indicators or proficiencies that we have available to us that meet the requirements of all the things I filtered out here. So I'm just going to check one just for argument's sake at the moment before we mess up your course too much. And so now we have a writing piece that we want, or a writing indicator that we want to tag. But typically you would go down through and again, check all of the indicators you might want within this course ever. You may not use them all. You actually don't have to use them all. The reason they do this, though, is so that when you are creating an assessment, you don't have to, dig through a ridiculously long list of indicators and proficiencies. You're just looking at those that you want available for this course. But feel free to check a few extras if you aren't certain you're going to use them. It's not going to hurt you any. It's just going to add a few to that list you're looking through later. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this one for a moment. And now we'll see we have two available. So if for this greeting assessment, I want to change and also have this one, I can check that box too. And I'm going to do this now just so everyone can see what that does to our other display in grade. So now it is showing that we have two different indicators tagged to this. And I can score for this assessment both of those indicators. Now you see, it's a little hard visually to note this, but this lighter gray here is showing that these two indicators are encompassed by that assessment. So these are those indicators in reference to this assessment or for this assessment. There's not a way to score under the assessment name itself, only the indicators that we're assessing for that assessment. Does that make sense to everyone? But that's where we would see that. And so this grade view of the grade book is more targeted toward looking at the assignment orientation aspect of this. So for a given assignment, we may have 3 or 4 indicators here. If those same 3 or 4 indicators are used in another assignment, you're not going to see those duplicated right here. You're going to see those under that assignment. So you'll see, the several indicators we have under this greeting assignment or assessment. And then you're going to see the indicators we have selected for the next assessment. If it's exactly the same, it still is just going to show duplicated, these two indicators right over here, and the fact that they're now for a second assessment you've given. In some of the other views, like the mastery view, that's where we're going to see across indicators how students are doing. So again, because there's no data recorded here, we're not seeing it. But if we had a score entered, and you know what, let me just do it. Uh-oh. All right, I'm gonna have to get on JumpRope just so everyone's aware. Hopefully we're not all scoring instantly here, but it looks like JumpRope has carried over some legacy stuff that we had actually turned off. We previously had utilized a letter system for scoring for the 1, 2, 3, 4, where we had A, B, M, and P, or M and E, excuse me. And so E was for exceeds, M for meets, 4, 3. A was approaching 2, and B was beginning 1 for proficiency level. So I'm going to have to talk to JumpRope. Looks like they have got those still stuck, and so I can't enter numerical scores, which is not great. So I will get them to change that right now because that's a big one. But I'm just going to enter 1 there for 1 second so we can see what that looks like. So now we're seeing for this given student, how are they doing? And you can look at their assessments, or for indicators within a individual indicator, how are all of my students doing? So again, at this point, I've only scored 1 student. I'm just going to go throw a couple more in just so we can see. Here you'll see within a given indicator, I think it's just taking a moment to catch up. Totally is, but it's really annoying that it's not faster. I'm going to talk to them about that too, because that really should be quicker. Looks like we're, for whatever reason, not getting these to enter right now, and I'm not sure why. There we go. Nope, still not there. Okay, I'm going to have to discuss that with them. It looks like our view is just not updating yet, and I'm not certain why at this point. It's just sticking to that 1 student rather than all of these here. And that is unfortunate. Oh, glad we're finding these bugs out because I can report all these straight to JumpRope. All right, but just trying to demonstrate what you could look at from different angles here. But again, typically we would see now if we had scored multiple students and it was showing properly that for this given indicator, here's all of the students and each of their scores within it. And what you would see here is sort of like an average for the class. So this is going to be how's everybody doing overall in this particular indicator. So these can be used for you to see how the whole class is getting particular concepts or areas. And that's what all of these bars up above are basically doing. It's going to give you sort of averages for the class. This is not what the students will see. They're not going to see like those class averages or anything. This is just for you to be able to see those scores effectively for those groups so that you know if you might need to focus more on a particular area. Of course, now it's starting to filter in. So it's just a little pokey, apparently. Still pokey. Yeah, definitely going to have to discuss this with them. Just reload the whole thing, see what happens. There we go. So again, it's a display issue. It's not like the data's not really there. It's just JumpRope is having some trouble displaying that to us in a timely fashion. So I will get on them about that because that is extremely important for us. So in this case, now we can see again, for a given indicator, this speak clearly and effectively with correct pronunciation. Overall, our students in this course that we have scored are a 3, and that's 243, just averaging out, giving us a 3. So that's just, again, useful for you folks to see how is the whole class getting this particular concept or area. But that, go ahead.
Thank you, Milt. This has been really good and really helpful. And we're going to put this video on the YouTube channel so that if you wanted to go back and watch it, you can. Does anybody have, we're almost to 3 o'clock. We're just about there. Any last minute questions or comments? It looks like we're good.
Okay.
Awesome.
But again, if anyone has questions after this, feel free to ask them of me, pop in a tech ticket or whatever, other method. I don't mind. Generally, tech tickets are helpful because it lets us keep track of larger issues. But if it's really just questions, you're just like, how does this work? Chat me. I'm there all the time. So, feel free. It's fine for informational questions. If there's, something I'm going to have to fix and it might take me a minute, help desk would be helpful. But this is fine for conversations about the product. No problem.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.